And USA Today Gallup poll, 86% said they back a military action even if it lasts several months. Support does drop, though, to 66% if a conflict lasts several years. For a public angry about how these tragedies could have happened, Attorney General John Ashcroft says he will send proposals to Capitol Hill in days to strengthen laws targeting terrorists.
We will develop the tools.
While Secretary of State Colin Powell calls for a return to normalcy.
If we stick in our bunkers and walk around afraid, they will have won. Well, we're not a fearful people. We know how to overcome tragedy.
And at this hour, a helicopter circling overhead the White House grounds. Just another reminder of the high security alert and the beefed up security around the White House. Now, earlier today, the White House releasing some photos we've never seen before of that day that really shook the world. President Bush talking aboard Air Force One to Vice President Cheney as he headed back to the White House from Nebraska. There, the president and at that photo, rather, Vice President Dick Cheney talking to President Bush in an underground operations center. Also today, we heard the vice president talking about those moments Tuesday morning. He said he was in his office. His secretary called, told him that a plane had hit one of the towers of the World Trade Center. He turned on his television, and then he watched as a second plane hit that second tower. The vice president saying right then it triggered the thought that this was terrorism. And then, Aaron, as the vice president is getting in touch with the president, who happened to be in Florida, and monitoring developments, his Secret Service agents came into his office. He described it this way to NBC's Meet the Press. He said, they came in and said, "Sir, we have to leave immediately." And they grabbed me, and Tim Russert said, they literally grabbed you and moved you. The vice president said, yes, and your feet touched the floor periodically. They're bigger than I am, and they hoisted me up and moved me very rapidly down the hallway and eventually to an underground operations center. Aaron, that's what the reason for this. The Secret Service receiving a report that a plane was headed to the White House. We do know that plane eventually hit the Pentagon. Aaron?
Couple quick things. President back at the White House tonight, or is he still at Camp David? Do we know?
Yes, we do. The president is back here at the White House, came back this afternoon, expected tomorrow to meet with his national security team, and also, Aaron, to meet with his economic advisors. A big focus will be watching the markets, which open tomorrow, and to see how the markets react.
Is there one issue, in a sense, going on that's being dealt with there? Do you have any sense at all that anybody is dealing with any of the other issues the administration had on the table less than a week ago?
At this point, the focus of this White House, the president said so today, is this worldwide fight against terrorism. He said he is focused on it. He is devoting every resource of the entire administration to this. You know, Aaron, just a week ago, the big fight in Washington was over the budget. There just wasn't enough money to pay for all the priorities. The big debate between Democrats and Republicans would be who would go ahead and dip into the Social Security surplus. The vice president today saying that debate is pretty much a moot point right now. Right now, the focus is on shoring up an international coalition, trying to find the terrorists and, of course, those who harbor them. Aaron.
All changed in a heartbeat, Kelly. Thank you. Kelly Wallace outside the White House tonight. As Kelly mentioned, all eyes on Wall Street, 9:30 tomorrow morning, including the president's. Among those who will stand on the podium to ring the opening bell, New York's Governor George Pataki will be there. A number of other politicians. Treasury Secretary Paul O'Neill will be up there as well in ringing the opening bell on the New York Stock Exchange. A spokesperson said today, all testing is completed, everything is a go. But a lot can still go wrong. A huge part of the financial district, which is very, very close to the Trade Center, still unsafe. Thousands are lacking power and electricity. Even getting to the stock exchange won't be easy. No cars are allowed in the area. And the approach by subway or bus or ferry is a very complicated one, to say the least. And for those who do get there, it is surely going to be a painful day. 3,000 people work on the floor of the exchange. It's safe to assume that many of them know someone who died on Tuesday morning. We don't know if it is a sign of things to come, but the markets in Asia are open, and it's been a very difficult morning over in Asia already. CNN Financial News correspondent Lisa Baring joins us now from Hong Kong. This would be good morning to you, I guess.
It will be. Thanks, Aaron. Stock markets throughout Asia are sharply lower. Investors are increasingly worried about how Wall Street will act when trading resumes in New York in coming hours. Tokyo's Nikkei is back below the crucial 10,000 level, falling nearly 5%, now at 9520. It is the lowest level since 1983, and the Nikkei is now below the level of the Dow. The Tokyo Stock Exchange has resumed normal hours after limiting trading last week, but trading in U.S. stocks remains halted in Tokyo. Hong Kong stocks opened for trading half an hour ago, now down to 3.8%. Other markets are also plunging. In Seoul, the Kospi is down 2.5%. In Taiwan, the Taiwan weighted index down 4.5%. The S&P ASX 200 down 4.32%. And in Singapore, the Straits Times index is now down more than 4%. The dollar in Asian trading is near 6-month lows against the Japanese yen, now at 117.05 yen. Back to you, Aaron.
Thank you. Just go back a couple of days. In the aftermath of the disaster, the tragedy, how did the Asian markets respond?
On the first day of trading, a few of the markets, I think it was Taiwan, Thailand, Malaysia, were actually closed. The other markets remained open with some shorter hours and further restrictions on the levels that they could drop. But they were all down sharply lower. They all ended the week lower. The Nikkei fell below the 10,000 level for the first time in 17 years. The Hang Seng Index in Hong Kong ended the week 7% lower, also below the 10,000 level. So last week was also a bad week for Asian stocks. Aaron.
Lisa, thanks. Perhaps a sign of things to come, perhaps not. We'll start to get an answer to that about 9:30 tomorrow morning, and then as the day moves, it'll be interesting to watch the ups and downs on Wall Street. Lisa, thank you. Lisa Barron in Hong Kong this morning. Back here in New York, New York Mayor Rudy Giuliani has been criticized and praised for many things during his public career. I think it's fair to say just about nobody is neutral on Rudy, and it is always Rudy. Since Tuesday, he has been everywhere and done everything, and even many of his foes concede this has pretty much been the mayor's finest hour. For more on the mayor of New York, here's CNN's Candy Crowley.
Sunday, the mayor of New York put a smile on his face, a tux on his back, and escorted a Brooklyn bride down the aisle. He was making good on a promise he made several weeks ago to the mother of the bride, who told him she had lost a son, a husband, and a father within the last year.
I asked her how she can bear it, and she said because she feels the pain of it, she allows the pain to happen, but then she focuses on the good things that are left in life, like her daughter's wedding. And that's what you have to do, she said. You have to focus on the good things in life.
For a city that's endured 5 days of bottomless grief and endless agony, focus on a good thing seemed like the right thing. But then Rudy Giuliani's been doing a lot of things right.
He's such a strong man. I think he carries everybody with his strength.
There are rays for his honor in nearly every corner of this vast, aching city. They applaud as he walks by now, a salute for a guy who seems never to sleep and nearly always to know the answer.
Basically, what the medical examiner needs are toothbrush, hairbrush, items, personal items that would contain cells, hairs that you can use to do DNA analysis.
He's giving the public information as he gets it. He seems to be very thorough and on top of things.
Within hours of the Twin Tower attacks, Giuliani had twice addressed his city, shaken but steady, with a gut instinct for what needed saying.
He asked the people of New York City to do everything that they can to cooperate, not to be frightened, to go about their lives as normal. Everything is safe right now in the city.
He has really just been an inspiration of leadership and of stability and made us all remain calm and comfortable here.
Term limited, the mayor is in his final months. After 7.5 years, his exit has been, to now, singularly ungraceful. Captured fairly efficiently in a short exchange with the press last June over questions about a messy private life.
Don't be a jerk. Thank you. I said don't be a jerk.
Tenderness, caring, and empathy have not been hallmarks of his tenure until September 11th.
And people should know that they're not alone, that there are a lot of people suffering with them, there to help them and support them.
He's comes across very, very caring and very sympathetic, and he's
very sincere.
Yeah, and very sincere, and he's very certain.
He has been known as a mayor who made the city work with a tough, no-nonsense approach. Criticized as combative and uncompromising, this week he was praised for it.
One of the best things they can do to show how strong we are and how terrorists can't cower us is not to be coward.
For a city like New York, we need a tough mayor like him, no matter how you look at it.
Politically, Governor George Pataki and Mayor Giuliani have never cared much for each other, but they have bonded over their care for this city.
For our governor and our mayor for being with us at every step along the way.
You would not be surprised to know that on the street they're saying they wish Giuliani could run for mayor again now. And perhaps he will run for something again soon. But whatever happens, this much remains. In New York's worst hour, Rudy Giuliani gave his best. When his city was in danger of crumbling, Rudy was a rock. Candy Crowley, CNN, New York.
The mayor's command of the crisis has been seen by Americans all over the country, and we gather admired. New York, for many people, seemed to represent the worst of American life, an island filled with the selfish, the abrasive, the cutthroat. Americans have seen in these days another side of New Yorkers, a softer side, a more generous side, a kinder side. And we wondered the other day if that is changing people's impressions of this city. So we asked correspondent Jeff Flock, who has been out in the Midwest this week, to do some reporting on that. He's been in Wisconsin and Iowa and Nebraska, and Jeff joins us this evening from Kansas City, Missouri. Jeff, good evening.
Aaron, good evening to you. A place called Fitz's. It's a place where they bottle root beer and a restaurant, and they've let us stay past closing time tonight to gather some folks to think about this in some sense. You're talking about New York, you folks out here in the Midwest haven't had a high opinion of New York in some ways over the years, have you?
Not exactly. I mean, New Yorkers seem more here and now, and we want it our way. Kind of fast-paced,
This is not a place you wanted to live, is it, Nelsie?
No, I don't think so. Too many people and too small a place and too much mass transit and too much commuting,
Well, we were just saying how this city, New York, has been under the microscope for the past week or so. And what are your thoughts now?
Oh, I think we've seen what New York is really all about. And in fact, New Yorkers are just like the rest of us in America. They have pulled together, they are strong, and their compassion has been phenomenal.
Chris, you're a fire inspector. You obviously resonated with the New York firefighters and what they've given and all the rescue folks.
Absolutely. I have to take my hat off to the New York Fire Department for the way that they've banded together as firefighters do in a time of crisis. They're really pulling together to try to find as many survivors as they possibly can, and I'm just really impressed.
With what this city has done, has it surprised you, Sarah? I mean, you made the point earlier, but I guess they're really just like us, aren't they?
They are just like us. They don't like for us to know that they're just like us because they tend to like to think that they're the king of kings and on top of the heap. But they're just like us. Their blood runs red just like our blood does. And they're all immigrants, too. And I think that's another matter. We're all in this together. And they were able to put a face on each and every individual that's missing. And I thank the media for doing that because so many of the families had the pictures of their loved ones. Mm-hmm. And we're showing them. And we, sitting out here in America, out of the New York City area, were able to really feel exactly the pain of each and every family. So now New Yorkers a family.
Yeah, it's almost that it's turned into a small town in some ways, which you know what it's like to live in a small town, and you wouldn't have thought that'd be New York, would you?
No, not really. But, when you have a condensed area like that, and I think, with the firefighters, that, especially in the big metropolitan areas with so much history like New York, they're a family. They really band together, and they're going to fight to get through this no matter what it takes. And, the doctors and the nurses and the emergency technicians that have just shown up down on the streets down there, and the Red Cross and everybody, that just puts on, a face mask and a helmet and gets down there and helps.
Now, while we're here and before we get away, I do want to ask, since tomorrow stock market opens, and I just want to get a sense out here in the middle of real America what's going to happen tomorrow. You worried about what's going to happen tomorrow, Sean, as it kicks off?
Not myself, no. I mean, the market goes down and it goes up, back and forth all the time, and tomorrow's a good buying day, I believe.
You do think so?
Definitely. I'll definitely buy stocks tomorrow.
You're going to buy tomorrow?
Oh, yeah.
Anybody else got their hand up on that one? Yeah? No kidding. Because somebody has said, everybody just ought to buy a stock or two, even if they don't have a whole lot of money, just to try and send a message.
Oh, I think so. I think the one true strength this country can show now is to keep this economy stable and show the folks who have done this